Good morning, everyone. Sorry, I'm running a minute or so late. I'm gonna just wait a moment for a few people to get on here. Good morning, Sue, and then we'll get started. How's everybody doing today? Good morning, Janice. How's everybody doing? It's very cold here in Maryland. We suddenly got fall. We actually had to turn the heat on. Hi, Janet. Your paper pumpkin's in the mail. I sent it yesterday, so hopefully you should get it by the end of the week. Probably it says 2 days. Janet was last week's winner for the paper pumpkin, everybody, so make sure you leave a comment. I will announce what we're going to do as the prize again. Morning, Becky. All right, so I'm going to get started just by telling you guys, hi, Nancy, that I was a little bit unimpressed with what I did with what my technique was going to be today. Oh, no power here. Poor you. I'm sorry, Janice. That stinks. Cold in Alabama. Yes, Becky, I hear you. So I got a little ahead of myself. I'm going to show you guys a couple things that I did, and I really wanted to show you the letterpress technique today. However, I don't think that I did a good enough job, so I'm going to have to continue working on it because for me right now it's not easy enough to explain that I think it's going to make sense, and I think it's going to be more confusing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue working on the letterpress technique through the rest of this weekend and see if I can't figure out something easier to do. Hi, Cheryl. And then I will come back. I am going to show you what I did in the meantime. And then we're going to make a lemon lime twist Christmas card. But I'm going to show you guys a couple other things that I was fooling around with so you can see. But here's number 2 thing. So I decided to make a lemon lime twist card. Morning, Cherie. However, I didn't know if I had any paper left because this is what I had when I pulled it out. And I thought, oh, that's so sad. But luckily, I ordered a whole fresh in color 2017-19 pack. So I do have some lemon lime twists in there. Because how can you be more prepared for something by not actually having the cardstock color that you said you're going to use? So it's been one of those kind of weeks around here. But I have a whole fresh pack. So this is the 17-19. So it's powder pink, lemon lime twist, berry burst, tranquil tide, and fresh fig. In case you guys haven't seen this, these do come in a pack and you get 4 sheets of each. It comes with the in colors. This is a great way to be able to sample all the colors and figure out if you like them or not. And the lemon lime twist, a lot of people, I think, they either really like it or they don't like it at all. But it is definitely a unique color. It's very fun. A very great card color for summer. But we're going to try to do it today with a Christmas card. So before I run away with that, hi Christina. What we're going to do is I'm going to show you what I did. I'm going to show you my attempt at what I did, and I'm going to tell you why I want to continue practicing because it didn't turn out very well in my opinion. So there is a technique called letter pressing. Now maybe it's because I used actually the letters. So these are the large die letters. And I thought it would be fun to do a card that said Mary. Now, granted, you're going to have to make your card a little bit different of a shape to fit all of these words. I've seen a lot of them with Noel. It's very similar to the eclipse technique. So what you do is you're basically, I use thick very vanilla because I figured that way it would be less that you had to use. But what you do is I put 4 layers of thick very vanilla. You just glue them together. I just use Tombow. That way you can make sure they're lined up really well. And then on the back, you put a piece of vellum. So you can do it either way. You can put it on the back or you can put it on the front. So if you want to do these from the reverse or do them on top, because the vellum is just going to help it not stick to your cardstock. And it also gives you a medium for applying ink. So I saw this technique Jennifer McGuire did, and I thought it was really cool. But she did them with some thinner words like, I believe like the congrats and the sunshine, the thinlits dies that we have. So those were a little bit more delicate. So here's what mine turned out like. Now, granted, I watercolored this in, so it's really not very pretty, but I was just trying to give you a feel of the words. So what I did is I ran over this with the lemon lime twist, and then I filled it in with the berry burst. And then I did another one where I just filled these in, and what you do is you ink the back of the letter. So you just put your stamp pad directly on here, and then you have to make sure you line them up. So that's the one thing, because once you put them down, you're going to get ink everywhere. So mine, obviously you can see they didn't line up very well, but what this does is the ink transfers from here to your cardstock. And then this is, it's probably not very easy to see, but you can see here, it's a debossed image. So it's actually ingrained into your paper. Now, one other thing, and this is why I want to practice a little bit more. This is watercolor paper. When you do it with regular paper, it actually tears it. And she did say that on her video. So I'm trying to figure out just a better way to do this for it to look the way I want it to look before I share it with you guys. And you're like, this is not, it is cool, Sue, but it's just not good enough for me to want to share with you guys yet, because I don't feel comfortable enough that I can tell you how to fix it if it's wrong. So I'm going to keep working on it. But again, watercolor paper does work best. Also, I just want to show you the sandwich that I made for when you do it. So you are going to need, so she used something called an embossing pad, which we don't have that, but this silicone mat works really well. So I did this like probably 6 different ways to try to get it. So the best way is you do your Big Shot platform, just your main one, not the thin adapter. You put a cutting plate down. So you are going to need this if you don't have it. You're going to use your silicone mat, and then what you do is you put your cardstock and then you put the letters down on top of it. And then you put another plate on. And I did run it through twice. So I'm going to have to practice just doing it once to see if that's a little better. But when you do it with this paper, it definitely rips it. So I would not suggest using the regular Whisper White paper. This is watercolor paper. I am going to try it with the thick Whisper White and maybe like spray it a little bit first to see if it works. That's what I was just thinking. I wonder if you missed it. It might help. So I'm gonna give it a try, and I'll come back, and hopefully maybe by next Wednesday I can do something with this. But again, I just didn't feel like if I couldn't give you guys good information or good ideas, I didn't really want to share it, because that would just make me sad, because then I couldn't help you to fix it. And then the other thing I might do is I might try it with some with the thinner ones, which that kind of does lead me to another thing with this. Another way that you could do these, and it was like with the congrats and the wish, those are the 2 I can think of off the top of my head, is then after you do these, you can cover them with Versamark and emboss them. And they look so pretty. You think the letters would be too hard to line? You know, they are a little bit, but the other thing you could do, if you wanted to do it ahead of time to practice, and honestly, this would be probably the smartest thing to do, I just didn't do it, is you could line them up on the mat like this, because they are square, so they do line up honestly fairly easily. So you would line them up, and then you could just take a piece of washi tape, like something old that you had, and connect them. Of course, I can't find the end of it. So that would be a good solution as to the lining them up, which I completely understand. I mean, it is a little time consuming probably the first time you did it. But if you could get them all lined up, and granted, of course, this piece of tape is like a little too small, and then you could tape them. So you could easily move them from one to the other and then just sit them down. So that would be maybe a good solution if you wanted to do multiple cards with it. But again, I'm going to figure something out, and I'll come out with a video when I feel comfortable enough that I'm not going to tell you guys how to do something ridiculously, because that would just, again, I just don't want to be sad. So before we get started, let me just tell you, everybody that's here, welcome. Thanks for joining me. I am going to give away another Pining for Pumpkin paper pumpkin, the October kit, which is sold out, no longer available. I was able to get a few of them, and I figured since I got a couple, I would share them. So if you leave a comment here, I will enter you to win. I will do the drawing Friday again. I'll do it Friday at 5 o'clock. That way it gives you 2 days to make sure you leave a comment. I would really appreciate it if you share this. It would make me super happy, and it would also get it higher onto Facebook, so you might notice it. If you haven't already, you can turn your notifications on. That way it'll tell you when I go live. And just one more thing. If you don't have a catalog, if you don't have a demonstrator, I would love to be your demonstrator. That is how I am able to do all this, by you guys following me and hopefully ordering through me. If you don't have someone already to use, you can find me at Rachthestamper.com. That's my blog. There's lots of information there. And if you want to get any of these supplies and more in my online store, you could go to Rachthestamper.stampinup.net. It's open 24/7. Shop in your jammies or your ball gown, either one. And now I'm going to show you one more thing that we kind of touched on last week. So, glossy cardstock. We did something with this last week. If you missed it, go back and watch it. We used the ironing board, and we put the wax paper on. We made a super cool card. Of course, I'm like, I can't find it right now. Here's what I ended up making with the stocking. And we ended up putting this together a little bit, so I'm going to try and show you guys something with this later. But I use this with the stocking, and then I just cut out a little silver foil just to give it a little bit of visual interest. But this is the glossy cardstock. We ironed wax paper, and then we just went over it with a sponge brayer. And there is a back for this. So I thought you could do this two ways. You could either put your backing on and kind of glue it up to here, and then on the sides you could put in a gift card. Or there also is a pillow pocket that you can attach to it. You don't want to use both sides of this, but I'll show you how to do this later. And this will actually attach so you can put a gift in it. So this was really fun with the glossy paper. But someone asked me, and I know yesterday was Halloween, so I'm a day late and a dollar short, but this is the one I found. This is from a long time ago, so maybe you could do this for next year. But what I did is I ran the embossing folder through and then inked it afterwards, and this is on the glossy paper. And I did one, and there's actually two different ones that I did. This is with the woodland textured woodland embossing folder. So this is one you could use. You could use this for fall, Thanksgiving. You don't have to just use it for Christmas. But what I did is the same thing as I ran it through the embossing folder, and then I just took the ink pad and you just drag it on. But one that was even cooler than that I did was the planks. This is a newer embossing folder. It's the wood planks, and it looks so cool. It's got like a shine to it. This will be such a cool card. You could totally make this into a Thanksgiving card. You could put little points and make a little fence. Put some flowers in front of it. You could use that new sunflower die and the punch that goes with it. You could put some sunflowers in front of it. So this is one that I'm gonna have to work on. But we went away this weekend to Hershey Park. So I kind of just was fooling with this before we left, and then I didn't get to make anything from it. But again, this is using the glossy cardstock and then just ink. So this is super, super, super easy to do. I'm gonna show you one real quick before we start. And I'm gonna try it with the cable knit because I thought that would be kind of fun. So let me grab my Big Shot, and let's see. Okay, I think we only need one pad because this is one of those thicker. This is the dynamic, so this is going to be a really thick one. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to just put this in. This is the glossy, and you're going to fold it. Let's make sure I got it slightly lined up. We're going to fold it and we're going to pop it through, and I'll show you what we're going to do from here. So when you have those, the dynamic ones, which are just the thicker ones, you only have to use one cutting pad because they are pretty fat. All right, so here, it's a little hard to see, but let's see. We will do, I'm trying to think how about we'll do Tranquil Tide, because that's a little bit different as well. I'm going to do a little Tranquil Tide, and then all you're going to do is just flip this over and drag. How cool is that? Isn't that neat? Now it will, depending on how you drag, you want to drag a little lighter if you don't want to smudge the bottom here. That was just me being a little heavy-handed. But if you go lighter, so then you just get ink on your raised images. Isn't that neat? So then you can cut this out. So you could cut this out with the stocking die. You can make a little stocking with it. It'll be so much fun. But glossy cardstock and just any embossing folder that you have makes it really, really cool. You could do this in so many colors. And this is a really cool way because it still is. This is a really raised one. It still is a really neat way to get so much impact. And look how easy that was. So you could cut up these. You could run them all through the plates. Then you could take them all and ink them all. You could do them all in different colors. And then cut them out if you want. But super, super fun. Really cool technique to use. So if you haven't tried that yet, get some glossy cardstock. Definitely a lot of fun. Okay, so let's move on. So we're going to get onto our lemon lime twist card. Yeah, so this is what I was going to show you. You could take your cable knit, you could cut your stocking out, or you could cut your pillow die out, and you could make these, you use two of these or use one of each if you're going to do it. And you can make really cool, they'd be really easy to make. And then you could just add like a little bit of a tag to it. I just made my own on this one. This is from, what stamp set is this? I feel like this is one that's been in the catalog for a while. Oh, what fun. So I just used the From Santa, and then I just took this, stamped it a couple different times, just trimmed it kind of into a square. I didn't even measure this. I just stamped it, trimmed it around, punched a little hole in it. Actually punched the hole in it with this little dude, this little circle. And then I just put some ribbon. I mean, that was like super, super easy. Or you could do this with the wax paper thing, either one. And if you wanted to do the wax paper, you could do a whole sheet of wax paper. Or as someone else pointed out, and I should have mentioned this, you can actually put a card underneath and on top of the wax paper and get 2 for 1. So you can do 2 at the same time. So that'll be really easy as well. Okay, so we're going to use the card front builder thinlits to make our card today. I thought that would be fun. I'm not quite sure what stamp set we're going to use yet, but I'm going to show you what we're going to do. We're going to use the trees, and we might use this as well. I'm not 100% sure if we want to use that or use the poinsettias. But what we're going to do, so we're going to use a base of lemon lime twist. So this is 4 1/4 by 11. We're going to score it 5 1/2. And what I had seen, and this, you know, is just really dependent on what you want to do with this card. So you could take, for example, you could kind of make your own background stamp. So this is using lemon lime twist, fresh fig, and then it's the memento ink. But what I did is the memento ink, and then I stamped it off. So you got multiple ones. So you could do a background thing like this and kind of put it through peeking. It'll make sense once we do it. Or you could do one with the deer, with the Carols of Christmas set. I think we might use these trees because this will make sense. The trees from Nature Sings. What other trees do we have? We also have the palm leaves, or the sprigs, whatever you want to call them. I always said these were palms. These would be a great idea for Easter too, by the way, if you haven't considered it. And I think that's kind of it, because the rest of them are a little bit too cartoonish for what I'm going for this. So what we're going to do is move a couple of these things out of the way. We're also going to need a piece of Whisper White, and cut that. I had completely ran out of thick Whisper White paper, which I don't think I've ever done. I was almost out of regular Whisper White. That just goes to show you I've been making a lot of cards lately, because I usually have at least like 2 extra packs. But I ran out of that. I had all my staple colors, but I ran out of white, which is shocking and not in a good way. All right, so what we're going to do with this is we're going to stamp something onto this. So I have one of these for the inside. That's why there's 2. So we're going to stamp something onto this, and then we're going to cover it up again with another piece of lemon lime twist. And then we're also going to use a little bit of glimmer paper. Okay, so this is the part we're going to stamp on. So you're going to kind of just eyeball where you want it. And I think since the majority of it is going to be lemon lime twist, I'm going to stamp these trees. Trying to think, I might do them in maybe Night of Navy, just so it's kind of like a dark, because the navy and the lime go really well together. So hopefully this is going to go a good place, because just like you guys are wondering where this is going, I have absolutely no idea yet. So let's see what happens. So if we're going to have this card, if we're going to have these trees about here, let's kind of decide where we're going to lay this out. So we'll have our tree, one will be here, and maybe one here. And we're going to end up cutting these out. So I'm going to say we're going to stamp some trees. And they don't need to be really dark, because you don't want them to be too dark. Let's see what that looks like. These are going to kind of be peeking through. I'm going to stamp a few just in case it doesn't exactly meet the line where I want it to be. Let me move this off. Okay, so we're going to give that a minute to dry, and move this out of the way. I'm going to trim out one more piece of lemon lime twist, and this is going to be like a mask. So I'm going to make it exact. I'm going to make it just 4 by 5 1/4, so it will overlay over that white piece. Oops, exactly. What happened? That never happens. It's probably because I'm cutting backwards. Let's try. There we go. So I'm hoping everybody had fun with all the trick-or-treaters that were out and about last night. My son went out as a train. He had a lot of fun doing that. All right, so we're going to cut this out, and then we're going to cut out our tree. So I'm going to see if we can run all, I don't know if we can do all this at the same time. We're going to do one, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use, like I said, of course I can't locate it at this minute. I was going to use a little piece of washi tape, but I'm going to use just a piece of tape just to hold this down. There's my washi tape. Just to hold this down so it's in place for where I want it. And I'm going to cut this out, and then we'll add in the rest of our trees. So my son went trick-or-treating as a train, which he wanted to be. That was a feat because it was made out of a box. I had to cut that out. It was a lot of fun. And we're not doing any more box costumes though. I told him that was the last one. The year before that he was a oops, I forgot one. The year before that he was a John Deere dump truck, which was again another gigantic box. And my son is not the biggest kid, so it takes a lot for him to carry it around, plus walking up and down the steps. All right, what am I doing wrong here? Hold on. You know why? It's because my cutting pads are crazy. All right, there we go. No, that doesn't want to go. You know what? I'm going to go back to my other platform. For some reason, I don't know about you guys, but I like using the original platform. Sometimes it works seemingly a little better for me. Could just be my Big Shot. All Big Shots are a little different too. If you ever have problems with yours, if you call whoever you purchased it from and they can call demonstrator support for you, they are super helpful about helping you adjust them, because I had a lot of problems with mine at first. And then once I talked to them, they really were able to walk me through a lot of stuff, because there is a lot of an adjustment period with those. So let me just pop this out. Popping. I don't want to rip it. I had, prior to the Big Shot, a Cuddle Bug. And I think since it was kind of my first cutting product, I probably was a little bit rougher with it than I would have normally have been. And I'm going to do, I'm going to pop the rest of this stuff out in a moment. But I just wanted to put my other tree on here. I can find where I left it. Probably underneath. And the same thing with the Stampin' Trimmer. I had a really hard time with it at first because I used a different trimmer. I know a lot of people say that they don't think it cuts the same or it cuts as well, but I really think that when you move on to something new like that, there really is an adjustment period. Hi Anna, thanks for joining late. There really is a big adjustment period, and you just need to kind of give yourself time to get used to it, or time to do something a little bit differently. Okay, so that's what our card is going to look like. But while I have the Big Shot out, I'm going to cut out these 3 trees. I'm going to cut these out with Dazzling Diamonds. And just had my Dazzling Diamonds. See, that's what happens when you move things to the forefront of where you're going to need them, and then you lose where you put them. My foil. And you know, this is like kind of crazy. Here it is. Oh goodness. All right, so we're going to use some Dazzling Diamonds. We're going to cut some trees out. And we don't need this much, so you can kind of trim it up a little bit. Now with the glimmer paper, unless your project needs to be directional, if that makes sense. Thanks, Judy. I appreciate you watching. You can cut this backwards. So your trees will just kind of be the other direction, but you can cut them backwards. They do tend to run through a little bit easier. Now, if you had congrats, you wouldn't want to do it backwards because then it's going to spell it backwards. So then you would want to do it forwards. But you can run things through backwards. It does make them a little bit easier to cut. And just put this through. Anybody new that's just joining us, make sure you leave a comment. I am going to do a drawing again for another October Pining for Pumpkins paper pumpkin kit. I'd appreciate if you share it as well, so then you're going to move your dies off, and then your trees will pop out really easily. There you go. Isn't that pretty? These are so pretty. So that's another trick if you want. And the other thing is too, you could totally save this. Now granted, these aren't lined up exactly. You could use this for another project really easily. So, hi Joyce, thanks for joining us. Marcia, thank you for joining. All right, so let me just get this out of the way, and we're gonna get out our paper piercer. I'm gonna just pop these little lines out. This is from the Carols for Christmas stamp set. I must not have run these through far enough because they're not wanting to come out as well for me today. See the idea? Yeah, it really does cut better backwards. Absolutely it does. There we go. And sometimes when you switch, you know what I think happened? For some reason, I think when I ran these through when I was having my little malfunction, they didn't cut as well as I wanted them to. But that's okay. We're going to pop them out. We'll make it work. Wouldn't be the first goofy card anybody got from me. I should say if I even send them, because a lot of times I will make cards and they just kind of sit in the bin. Yeah, these are definitely like a little bit of a double cut here. Let me just look at this. Yeah, all right, what I'm gonna do, just real quick, one more time, just to make this for the sake of simplicity, because I don't want you guys to have to sit here and watch this train wreck. I'm gonna pop this one piece through real quick again with the cards. And, all right, so I'm gonna do this one more time. I think I'm gonna have to trim this down just a smidge, because I think it's not exactly the right length, but put that over there. Okay, and I'm going to run this through twice, just like I did with the last one. Sometimes when you have these pieces too that are straight, you will get a little bit more clicking and resistance. So another thing you can do when you run your stuff through the Big Shot is you can put it sideways. That way it's not hitting a hard edge. So that's another thing that might help you cut your stuff out a little better. All right. So we're going to pop these out. And they may or may not match up exactly, but they'll still be good. And the other thing about this, just speaking about this color combination of the Lemon Lime Twist and the Night of Navy, is such a pretty color combination for so many things. Man, I am really having trouble with this today. This is like Rachthestamper gone to another level of wrongness. Hi, Michelle. Congratulations. You used your new Stampin' Blends yet? Stampin' Blends went live to order, everybody, today, by the way. I completely forgot to mention that. Thanks for Michelle for hopping on. That I remembered. They are the new alcohol markers that Stampin' Up! Released. I know they had some alcohol markers a while back. I did not ever have them because honestly I was a little afraid of using alcohol markers. Not sure how they would color. So I got these and they are so much fun to use. They do only have two, so they have a light and a dark. And then they have a blender, they have an ivory. These ones up top here are giving me a hard time. We might just be omitting those. We're going to leave these in for now because otherwise this is going to be a video so long. No one's going to want to stick around for it. But they have ivory. Really, really pretty. Let me trim this down so it fits. Really pretty color combos. So 5 1/4. Let's see, I think this is at least 4. Yeah, I at least got that part right. But they have some beautiful colors. They all do match the Stampin' Up! Colors, which is pretty fun. Okay, I haven't decided what we're going to do on the inside yet. So, for right now, we're going to go ahead and put our trees on here. Now, if you wanted to, at this point, you could add some other trees in. I'm going to add another one here just because of the way this cut. Let me get my Night of Navy back out. And what you could do, if you wanted to as well, is you could just take like a little pencil and just make a super light mark. That way you would know how low you want to go down here. You can make like a little mark in the top of your tree. That way you could say, okay, I need to stamp some tree in here and it needs to be up to here if you wanted to cover the whole thing on the inside. So we'll just put a few, kind of like look a little bit like a forest. That'll be good enough. I don't want to overdo it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put some, just erase these pencils. Here. I have a better eraser here. I don't want to leave any black marks. Just going to erase these couple pencil marks. And this one you can't even see because the trees are covering it. I'm going to actually put adhesive onto this when I adhere it. And you can put it all the way to the sides because the trees aren't going to cover, but... Oops. All right. And then we're going to take our pretty glimmer trees and we're going to put these in front. Now, another thing you could do if you wanted to, just to bring the color in, you could always sponge the edges of this with Night of Navy. Again, this is going to be a panel that's going to completely cover this. So it's covered the panel above it. So if you wanted something like that bigger, you could also put a teeny bit of adhesive underneath of this to keep it still. You could also pop it up if you wanted to, give a little bit more dimension. But I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to do a little bit of the Night of Navy. I'm going to just sponge it just lightly and see. And if you don't like what it looks like, you could always leave it off. Just to give like a little bit of a separation between the line. Anybody already have their Christmas tree up? Since it's November 1st. We don't usually put ours up until after Thanksgiving because we have Thanksgiving here, so it's just not enough room with the people and the tree and whatnot. But I will be going downstairs and putting on holiday traditions probably not long after I end this broadcast, because that is one of my absolute favorite stations to listen to on XM. I don't know if anybody has that or not, but they play old-fashioned Christmas music, which is my favorite to listen to. I really, really love that. So I'm just adding a couple stamping dimensionals to the back of this. I'm going to pop it up, and then I have a couple pieces trimmed off, so I'm just going to put them on the top. That way the top stays, whoops, popped up as well. I just need one more for this little guy over here. Hey, Tammy. Oh, I'm sure the stores do, Donna. No doubt they have Christmas music on. I'm kind of surprised that I haven't really heard Christmas music before then. Yesterday in Target, they actually still even had the Halloween stuff up. And they were just slowly bringing the Christmas in. I think this is the longest I've ever been to Target without them having the Christmas stuff up or out in some crazy shape or form. Okay. So there is our card, and we're going to put this onto the base, but this needs a little something. So we're either going to put something up here or maybe something down at the bottom. So let's see what else we have to work with. I have so many the other thing you could do if you wanted to, instead of doing this piece here, you could put the stars. That would be really pretty too. So you could definitely cut that out with the little moon. That would be a great addition as well. You could stamp yourself a little deer and then trim it out and add that down here. That would be really, really cute as well. But how about if we do this, because this is really pretty, and we'll put something different on the inside. So I just pulled out "And Heaven and Nature Sing," and what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to emboss this, and I'm going to just do it onto a piece of white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, if I remember where I put it, so I made a little special combination, and I think even though I use the dazzling diamonds on this, I think it'll really make the card look pretty. So I mixed a little bit of silver and gold embossing powder, and it kind of looks like champagne. So if you didn't have the dazzling diamonds and you wanted to do the champagne paper, which would be super, super pretty with that, you could do this as well. So what I did is I just made, this is like an old container that I have. I just mixed up the two, and then I poured them in a container just to keep them. But if you have an old empty embossing powder container, that'll be another really good way to use it. This has a little mark on it, but we're only going to be on the top, so we should be pretty good. so, okay, so I'm going to grab my Versamark, and one thing I do, I have to plug in my heat tool, so just bear with me 1 second here. I'm going to pop this one off and plug. There we go. Okay, so we're going to stamp this. Okay, and I'm going to grab a little piece of scrap so I can dump this one too. Move this out of the way. So this is a really cool idea with the champagne because there is currently no champagne embossing, but this really did a good job of making it look like champagne. And if you forgot or are lazy, kind of like I am, you can just use use your finger, or you can use a tiny paintbrush if you got anything anywhere you didn't want it to go. All right, let me just put this back in here so I don't waste my special combo. Again, that was silver and gold embossing powder mix. Kind of makes like a champagne. So, little noise for a minute. Oh, I love that. So cool. Every time. It gets me every time. I think embossing is my favorite. And you can emboss from the top or the bottom. I just do that so you guys can see it. Isn't that so cool? It really looks like the champagne. It's so pretty. And I know it's crooked, but we're going to trim it out, so no biggie. All right, what we're going to do is I'm going to try to trim across the line here. So it'll be real tiny. Because, you know, a normal person probably would have done this on a straight piece, but that's asking for a lot. All right, so I'm going to just trim this out. And we'll just keep it square. And we're going to just add this onto the, I think I'll add it onto the top. All right, so that's so pretty. I'm going to pop this up on a dimensional. So again, I'm just going to trim out one of my little pieces here. Stick that right on there. All right, and then only thing we have to do is just add something to the inside. So we're going to stick this right here. Very simple card, and we're going to just put some snail down, and we'll add this to our main panel of our card. Just like that. And again, if you wanted to, you could pop this up with a dimensional. Other thing, like I said, you could always swap this out and put the little stars. I think I might go back and do another one with that. That'll be super pretty as well. So now on the inside, which I believe I just used my inside piece, so I'm just going to grab another piece. What we're going to do is we're going to do this outside part here, May the Spirit of the Season. And I think I'm going to bring the trees in just to put them back in there. And I'm going to put, I don't know if I want to put the deer or the pine bow. So while I'm getting this situated here, you guys let me know, what would you rather? We have the deer, or I should say the little grazing deer, or we have the little pine bow that we can add it. I am definitely going to add the trees to the inside, but just to add a little bit of something extra. I'm not sure. The metallic embossing is so pretty. I love it. The other thing you can do too, if you're ever in the situation where you don't have the color that you want, you can also emboss in, so you would stamp in ink. So stamp in whatever ink you want. Now, one thing, you do have to move a little quicker when you do this, but you stamp in whatever color ink you want, and then you can add the clear embossing over it, and it will emboss it. So I got pine and deer and deer and deer. All right, I saw more deer, so we're going to go with the deer. All right, what we're going to do, let me move this to the side. We'll go ahead and do our little trees. And again, I'm going to put them just in the navy, just to bring the navy to the inside. If you want to do them lighter, you can stamp off first. Be pretty. That way they're a little bit subtle down there. And then we'll do the same thing with the deer. So with the deer, I'm going to do it in early espresso, but I'm going to stamp off when I do it. See if they'll fit on here. We'll put them down at the bottom, and then we'll put our greeting up at the top. that was a little too light. I think my early espresso needs to be re-inked. Oh, look, shadow deer. Looks like they're in the fog. Don't do that. You can always flip it. That's the good part about this. So if you were really concerned about it, just flip it over. That's why we didn't adhere it to the inside yet. But we're going to do one more bit of embossing. And since I did already stamp, just to avoid anything that might be loose, I am going to use the embossing buddy. That way it doesn't get stuck to the trees. All right, so we'll do the same thing again. I'm going to use the Versamark, and I'm going to use that champagne that I created. Make sure that's nice and inked. And I want to make sure I have the words so they're not upside down. Nope. All right, we'll put that right in the center. Okay, and then just one more time. With my champagne. Doesn't look like a lot. I know it might look like, how is she gonna, it really doesn't take that much. Embossing powder seems to last almost forever. Get a little bit more on the bottom here. It's like sometimes you pour it out, and when you put it back, it's like you have more than you started with. It's really crazy. And Stampin' Up! Definitely does have a good variety of colors. And they definitely have a good variety of the metallics. But like I said, if you have a color that you don't want, or they don't have, I should say, and you really want, just use your ink and your clear. Super, super, super pretty. It's so pretty. I just love that. So beautiful. I love embossing. It's my favorite thing ever. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just put this onto the inside of my card. I lost my snail there for a second. And stick that on there. And sometimes when you have your embossing, it does make your cardstock get a little warm. You can always flip it over, but you could always just add it with a little bit more adhesive. Will stay. So there we go. And Heaven and Nature Sing. Beautiful card using the Dazzling Diamonds. I love this. I just ordered some more of this, as a matter of fact. Dazzling Diamonds glimmer paper. We use the little trees, and that is from the card front builder. If you don't like the lines and the little doodads at the top, you could always swap this out and do your stars and your moon. That would be so beautiful as well. If you wanted to make a complete card front, and they do also have the little poinsettias that you could add to the bottom. There's one for each side. You could add those in. They have also some other little ornaments, and these match the ornaments in the other stamp set, and that's the Carols of Christmas stamp set. So they match. You can stamp the deer. Everything matches. It's really, really well coordinated. It makes everything super easy to use. And then our inside just with the trees. And again, so if you don't have this, just mix some gold and some silver, put it in a little container, and then you could use that too. Champagne embossing powder. You could use your champagne foil if you wanted to instead, which would be super, super fun. But hooked me too. Janet, I am the same way. Embossing powder is what hooked me as well, Janet. I love embossing. That was a thing where I thought, I'm sold. And then here I am. Everything's history since then. So again, guys, thank you so very much for sharing. And thank you guys for commenting and liking and joining. I really, really appreciate it. If you have any questions, you can always send me an email at rachthestamper@gmail.com. If you don't have a demonstrator, I would love to be yours. All you have to do is send me an email and I can help you get set up. Or you could go to rachthestamper.stampinup.net. Top right-hand corner, you click Join Now, and then all you'd have to do is fill your information out. It's very easy. You get to pick $125 worth of stuff for $99. And they send it to you free shipping, which is amazing. Amazing bonus. See, look at that. My cell phone didn't get cut off this time. How you like that? I finally learned. It's all right. House phone will stop ringing in a minute. But if you guys need a holiday catalog or a regular catalog, you can send me your full mailing address, including your zip code, to rachthestamper@gmail.com. And I have one more card I wanted to show you because someone specifically asked for Lemon Lime Twist card, and I made this one quite a while ago, so I just wanted to share this with you too. This is using the marbled background, and this is the same thing, so lemon lime on lemon lime. I did use the shimmer paper on this, but this was such an easy card to make. This would be a great card too if you wanted to do for Christmas. All you'd have to do is swap out the sentiment. But the shimmer paper, it's kind of hard to see, but it really makes the card. Really, really does. Beautiful. Add a couple little gemstones in there. There is another one, and I don't know if I'm going to look through my pile real quick and see if I have it. There's another one that I did though, and we did that one in Bermuda Bay. Not sure if I have that one here. This one. This was so easy, and I tell you why. This is raised. So what I did is I re-stamped this and trimmed it out because I goofed it. When I stamped this, the ink coverage wasn't good, and I thought, well, I'm not throwing that away. So instead what I did is I just re-stamped it, I trimmed it kind of to match, and then I just put it up on top 1 dimensionals. But the, yes, the background, it's a marbled, it's a background stamp, and it's called Marbled, and it's so pretty. It's a beautiful, beautiful swirl. You could do this with like a rainbow assortment, which would be really, really pretty as well. It's a beautiful base, but it looks even prettier if you do it on the shimmer paper, because the white cardstock looks nice, but the shimmer paper, when you see it up close, it probably doesn't look as nice on here. It just has such a pretty shine to it. So it's kind of like having Wink of Stella, but not actually having to use it. So anyway, that is another card I wanted to show you guys, and I think that's it for today. So if you have any questions, shoot me an email. If not, if you want to get any of these supplies and more, you can go to my online store 24/7. I really appreciate your support, guys. I really, really do. If it wasn't for you all, I wouldn't be able to continue doing this. So my online store is rachthestamper.stampinup.net. You can follow the blog, rachthestamper.com. I put new ideas, and I'll put the card up on this and put the directions and everything. And I promise you, once I get that letterpress technique down, I will absolutely come back and share it with you. So make sure you leave a comment to be entered to win the Pining for Pumpkins from October. And I will do that drawing Friday at 5 o'clock. So thanks as always for joining.